Hey, what's up you guys? In this tutorial we're gonna work on this scroll that you can see here in this environment in 3ds Max and Substance Painter, so please like this video if you will and share it around. Okay, so to start working on this scroll, we're gonna start off with a cylinder. So we're gonna make sure that this cylinder respects real world scale. So we're gonna create something that is not very big, because this piece here is gonna be very small. So we're gonna try to go with probably 5 centimeters in radius at maximum, and probably this is gonna be too much. Later we're gonna discover if this is gonna be the case or not. Also, we're going to remove the height segments, and we're going to convert this piece here to editable poly, and we're going to start modeling it. So we're going to rely on the edge extrusion method, and we're going to delete the polygons that we don't really need, because we're going to work with edges and borders. So for now, we're going to keep holding shift all the time, and we're going to move and scale these borders in order to get the edges, or create the edges or the polygons we can see here. Of course, this is going to be something that we've done previously several times, and this should not be hard if you are used to following my tutorials, because for the most part this is the method I use to get my models done. So it seems like we have to adjust some of these vertices, as you can see, because the bottom of this piece here looks like a hemisphere or something. But for the most part, we're gonna continue working on the upper part, and we're gonna do what we've done previously, which is using the edge extrusion method, and we're gonna create some nice shapes that you can see here. Okay, we're gonna bring that that border to the center, because we're gonna create one half, and later we're gonna take care of the other half using the symmetry modifier. So for now, we're going to actually select or create 2 loops right there by connecting the edges, and we're gonna select 2 edges ring, because we want to convert edges to polygons. You can do this by keeping you just keep holding control, and you will convert the edges to polygons, and you will extrude using the extrude tool in the editable poly list. And you don't, because it's this area here is not that noticeable, and it's very small. Probably we're not going to extrude that much, and we're gonna probably try to do the same here, the same in this area, because it feels like it's gonna be a nice addition. The same principle holds true here, and probably we're going to actually select everything here and add 2 edges, as you can see, because we want those those extruded surfaces to be smoother than this. Okay, so when we are done with that, we're going to give that geometry and material, because this will actually help us to see what's going on better. Okay, for now we're gonna actually apply the symmetry modifier, because we want to see how this model looks, how the model looks when we bring it to full length. Probably it should be a little bit shorter, as you can see, because there is a proportion between length and the radius that we need to respect, or height and radius. Okay, for now what we're trying to create here is gonna be some papers, and actually these papers are kind of part of the scroll. So these papers are supposed to be inside the scroll, something like that. So we're going to try to actually create something that looks realistic. So we're not gonna actually do something ridiculous or kind of unrealistic. So we're going to create some papers that are kind of have some real world scale. That means that that means that the scroll here is super big, and we want to make it smaller. Okay, we'll try to actually make this piece of paper look even better. Also, we want to copy it a few times, probably two or three times. And there's going to be one piece of paper that is going to be a little bit interesting because we want to actually curl it a little bit on the edges, and we want to actually give it some nice looking shape. So adding the shell modifier is going to allow us to give the paper some thickness. So since the paper is going to be very thin, we're not going to actually add a lot of thickness using the shell modifier. We're going to do the same thing for the other paper, of course. Okay, what we'll do right now is we'll try to connect those two edges on the side, because we want to actually create the curve that we want, and in order to do this, of course, we need multiple edges. So first of all, we'll try to move that vertex in the very edge, and we'll try to actually add some edges in between as we go. This will allow us to actually have an easy time creating that effect. Okay, we'll keep moving this vertex as we go. Okay, as we do this, we'll make sure that everything looks fine and looks nice from every angle. So probably here we're gonna try to actually chamfer these this edge right here, because we want it to have more geometry and more edges in order to make things look smoother. Also, we're gonna add few edges here because also things don't look that smooth in that area as well. We want actually a smooth transition because the low poly model is actually gonna have as little as we can have. So probably it's a good idea to add a little bit more, because we don't want this paper to look broken when we look at it in the form of a low poly model. Also, we want to actually adjust the smoothing groups using the smoothing groups parameters in the poly. We're gonna try to do the same thing for the scroll. So we're gonna select it, select all the polygons, and then clear smoothing groups, then auto smooth everything. Okay, for now we're gonna create the layers, one for the high poly and one for the low poly, because this is very important for what we'll do later, which is gonna be creating actually the low poly using baking inside Substance Painter and stuff. So for now, we're going to actually work only on the high poly, and we're gonna make it smooth and nice using actually the process that we call support edges. So by creating the support edges, we'll be able to actually tell 3ds Max which areas are gonna be hard edge and which areas are gonna be soft and smooth. Okay, and this process also is gonna be very straightforward. It's gonna be easy, nothing complicated about it. We've done it several thousands of times before, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Okay, when we're done, we are gonna apply the Turbo Smooth, as you can see here, and it seems like the model is very smooth and nice. Also, when it comes to the papers, we're gonna have to apply the shell modifier because we want to give it some thickness after all. And we'll try to apply support edges as well here, and we'll try to be as accurate as possible. So we're gonna use the viewport clipping, as you can see here, because we want to zoom as much as possible, and we don't want the camera of the viewport to clip the view and prevent us from seeing what we were trying to see. Okay, so the process of creating support edges for this piece here is gonna be interesting because we're gonna have to do some manual work here in order to get it done. Of course, we're gonna use the edge constraint in order to keep the vertices working or moving according to the edges we have on the borders, and we're gonna try to do the same thing here for this side. I think this is gonna be a little bit different because we have to do some manual adjustments. So we're gonna try to connect them first. We're gonna try to bring them to the edge, and of course there is a variation in distance between these vertices and the edge, so we're gonna have to do some manual adjustments. Of course, make sure that the edge constraint is activated because we want these vertices to move along the edges, and we don't want them to actually move freely in space, because this is gonna be really it's going to create some distortions in the mesh and weird results. So this method will keep everything in place as we do our support edges. Alright, so we're gonna have to do the same thing from the other side. So this process is going to be similar to what we've done on the other side, so we're going to have to move the vertices manually. and we're gonna add a few support edges on the sides as well, because it's gonna help us to actually keep a little bit of control on the sides. And as we apply the Turbo Smooth, you can see that it looks like we have something that looks like something we want to see. If you want more accuracy, we're gonna increase the iteration to something like 2, probably 3, depending on what you want. For now, we're gonna bring actually the lap poly model, and we'll try to remove all the vertices and all the edges that are not gonna be necessary. So we have to actually make things flat and stuff. We want to actually keep the silhouette, but we don't want it. We want to actually remove all the things that are gonna be not necessary. So actually, there are very few things we can do here. So this should not take very long period of time in order to finish. So we're gonna move through it very quickly. Okay, for now we're going to jump to the process of creating the UVs for our low poly model, and in order to do this, we're gonna have to use what we've been using before, which is gonna be very simple. So we're gonna use box modeling, box mapping here, and as you will see here, it's a mess, but it's not gonna be that complicated to organize. So our job here is just to stitch the separated elements. Shift S from the keyboard, or select the edge, then right click, then stitch selected. Of course, we need to actually extract the elements that seem like they are finished and they are ready for to be set aside, and the elements and the UV islands that seem scattered all over the place, we need to attach together, or we need to stitch together using a stitch selected tool, and it should take a few minutes, like 5 minutes or something, but later we're going to be able to organize everything properly in one place. Okay, so when we're done, we will be able to see something like this, and we will be able to actually organize everything in one place. And we better actually have a rhythm to our organization process, and we need to actually make sure that elements that seem similar are gonna be in one place, and we're gonna actually change the size of the UV elements, because it seems like these are too big. Probably will not change the size for now, because it seems like the space, or the area here is going to be enough. And what we are doing here is we are trying to create what we call the UV template. The UV template is going to be extremely important for the process of texturing and generally creating or baking maps in Substance Painter that we will actually do later. So this process of creating the UV template is going to be straightforward, nothing complicated about it. For the most part, we will try to push everything inside this 1x1 rectangle, and we'll make sure that we are using all the space we have, and that we're gonna make sure also that everything is gonna be organized and looks appropriate. Okay, for the paper, we will try to do the same thing, and it's gonna be a straightforward process as well. So this shouldn't be very difficult for us. Okay, we're gonna try to put these UV elements aside. So when we apply the checker texture, as you can see here, we're gonna be able to see anything wrong with the process of UV unwrapping, and it's gonna allow us actually to compare the size of the UVs between different pieces, which is gonna be important if we are going to create a UV template for all these elements, and make it, and if we want them to be one piece. So here the papers and the scroll are going to be separated, so we don't have to worry about that for now. And what we will do as well is we're going to make sure that the papers are going to be in one place. Also, we want to do something else, which is going to be actually we want to create a third paper. So we want to copy one of these papers, and in order for us to accomplish what we've done before, we need to go through the processes of UV unwrapping and modifying the UV template, which is going to be something we're going to do real quick. Okay, for now we're gonna make sure that the UV template is gonna be created correctly. So we're going actually to since we copied the UV template, or the actually the UVs from one of these papers to the one paper that we didn't UV initially, we're gonna have to extract it from that one because they're gonna be imposed on top of each other, so we're gonna be in an identical position. And we're gonna have to do what we're gonna have to do is we're going to actually organize it all over again, and we're gonna make sure that this UV template is gonna be created properly. Okay, for now we're gonna work on the process of naming the elements, and we're gonna bring the high poly and the low poly in one place, and we're gonna make sure that we're gonna name everything properly. So when it comes to this model here, there aren't a lot of things we have to do, so it's gonna be very straightforward. We have one scroll and three papers. So we're gonna use a suffix, of course, for the high poly. We're gonna, for example, use HP, and for the low poly, we're gonna use LP. And you're gonna use whatever suffix you want. It doesn't really matter. And the name also, you're gonna choose whatever names you want. It doesn't matter as well. The most important thing we're gonna keep in consideration here is that we're gonna name the high poly and the low poly similarly, and the only difference is gonna be the suffix. And when we're done, we're gonna export our models, and we're going to import them to Substance Painter, as you can see here. So as you can see, it seems like our model is ready, and we'll try to do a test bake here. And we'll actually bring all the parameters that we need, like the high poly and low poly suffixes. We're gonna do a match by mesh names, and after we do a quick test, we can see that the results are acceptable, and we're ready to do the real bake. So we're gonna change the parameters for the normal, the ID, the ambient occlusion, and we're gonna change some of the settings here. These are gonna be by default. These are things that I always do, and I will try to keep things similar. And when we're done with the bake, we're gonna try to actually start adding some materials, smart materials, of course. So as you can see here, I'm trying to add the leather material because I think this is gonna look good for some reason, and we're gonna try to change the color of the material. And I think this one here, this brown, is gonna be good enough. Okay, for now we're gonna add this bronze smart material because we want to apply it on the edges and in certain areas where we need them. So it seems like we have to add a black mask, because we're gonna go manually select the edges and the polygons we really need. So for now I'm going to actually select kind of the edges and do some testing in order to know what we are trying to do here. And we're gonna go to actually the from the UV template we created, and it's gonna be important to Substance Painter, and it's gonna allow us to select the areas that we want very accurately. And as you can see here, this is the same UV template we created in 3ds Max, and I will try now to actually pinpoint the surfaces that we need by selecting a few polygons. And when we go to the 2D when dealing with the 2D surface, we'll know exactly which ones are going to be selected. This will allow us actually to identify these surfaces very accurately when we go to the 2D scene that will, or the 2D viewport. Okay, so now we are in our UV template, and this using or actually selecting from the UV template is gonna be much easier because everything is laid out in a nice way. Alright, so this process is gonna be taking some time, so you're gonna have to be a little bit patient here, because we're gonna have to get everything covered and selected. It's actually a little bit difficult to see the material when it comes to small pieces like these, but actually when we if you want to make sure that you are selecting the right area, you can go back to the 3D viewport, and in order to do this, you're going to use F2 from the keyboard. If you want to go to the flat surface or the UV template that you can see here, you're going to hit F3 from the keyboard in order to switch between those. In order to change the lighting, you're going to keep holding Shift and right click from the mouse. I think this is the default way to do it. Probably it is changed in my version, I don't know, but this is how I do it normally. So it seems like even though we've done a lot of selecting and that we selected so many things, it seems like we didn't do that much. So it seems like everything is gonna be selected other than all these tall and thin pieces should be selected as well. So we're gonna select them because they are gonna be affected by the bronze material. These ones here as well. Okay, it seems better now, I think. Okay, so when we actually try to add some of these selection of that bronze material on certain areas, especially from the top and the bottom, it seems like it doesn't seem like a good idea actually for me, because I was trying actually to add also a pure gold material. Probably this is gonna work, but I think it's not gonna work because I don't know. Probably it is meant to actually stay in its original, using its original material, which is gonna be that leather material, and I think that way is gonna look better. So probably using this gold material here is not gonna make it any better. Anyways, when we look at it from distance, it doesn't look that great. So even when you change some of the parameters, I don't think it's gonna look as nice as it was before. Sometimes you try to make things better, but they don't they don't look great. So I have to actually bring the bronze material and try to take a second look at it. Probably this is gonna look more acceptable. Okay, it seems like we're gonna keep it as it was before. So for now, this is gonna be the UV template that we exported from 3ds Max, and what we will do is we'll use some of the alphas we have here, black and white images, and you're gonna find these in on my Patreon page with the posts if you become a Patreon. And as you can see here, what we'll do is we're gonna bring these these ornaments here, or these layers here, in order to create what we call the a mask. So this mask is gonna be completely black and white, and we're gonna use it in order to create some details on the scroll textures and stuff. So this is gonna be very simple because we already have the UV template that is gonna be helping us to see clearly where these ornaments are gonna be placed exactly, and it's gonna be a straightforward process. So I'm gonna duplicate that layer right there, and as you can see, when we remove or when we increase the opacity or remove the UV template, we can see that the mask that we are creating is actually coming to life. And as you can see here, this is gonna be another part of the mask. So these are gonna be two pieces that we're gonna use separately. So we're gonna try to separate them, and we're gonna try to put them in the center of our scroll. So we're gonna duplicate these pieces probably 2 times. So we're gonna cut this piece, and probably we're gonna reduce the amount of black surface around it. So we're gonna remove some of the black areas right there, and we're gonna try to put it exactly in the center. And as you can see here, we'll try also to bring another piece ornament that we actually are gonna be using, and I think it's gonna be probably making it, it's gonna make it look better. So I'm trying now to position it exactly where I want it to be, and we're gonna copy that piece or that piece of ornament or that decoration piece, and keep holding Alt to do this, and drive it to the right side. And I'm trying actually to put that small piece exactly in the center before we bring this piece of ornament here, and we want to flip it around about 90 degrees, and we'll try actually to position it put it in a nice position. The thing is here is we have to actually put that piece exactly in the center so we can actually try to create something symmetrical. For now, it doesn't seem like it is in exactly where we want it to be, so probably we're gonna change its position a little bit. Okay, this one here in the center, we're gonna position it exactly where we want it to be, and we'll add a layer. This layer is gonna be black, of course, because we want a black and white mask. So we're gonna hide everything. We're gonna keep only the ornaments and our black layer, because this is gonna be exported to Substance Painter in order to use with a fill layer. So we're gonna actually create a fill layer in Substance Painter, and as you can see here, we'll try to add a black mask to it. So what we'll do is right click, add a black mask, then right click again on black mask and add a fill, and we'll bring the mask we created in Photoshop, and we're gonna import it and integrate it with the fill. So this is gonna be the result that we're gonna get. It looks nice. It looks very good, and it added a lot to the flat texture that we had, or the flat materials that we had for this scroll. And we're gonna change the color to something that looks kind of looks like gold or something, yellow, between yellow and brown, something like that. And of course we will increase the height a little bit because we want it to be popping out of that surface, and we want it to be pronounced and very clear. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to our channel if you're new. And of course, in order to have all these textures and alphas that we used here in this tutorial, go to Patreon to check it out. It is there, and you will get all the tutorials, all 8 tutorials in advance, of course, ahead of time before being published on YouTube. Thank you very much, and I will see you in the next one.